Welcome back, everyone, to the State of the Nation. Well, we need to know where we are right now as a nation and how we got here. In terms of our economy, in terms of our politics, where is Sri Lanka right now? Well, Danitha Vitanavasam joins me from the data board. He's at the data board right now. And Danitha, good to see you after a very long time on this show. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too as well, Mahieash. Just to reminisce the past, because that's something we do. This is a special day because this was about, I think, 4 years back. This was the very day that we met for the first time as well. And this studio is now celebrating its 4th year, if I'm not mistaken.
You're talking about Studio 24. And,
Studio 24, yeah.
And the opening of Studio 24 back in 2019. Yes, I think you were here to interview me. You were on our other channel, Pulse, and you were here to interview me right here in the studio. I mean, good to know that. Yeah. But let's get to the things that we have to do right now. In terms of our economy, where do we stand? Like, we know things are not that good, and we understand, there's a lot to do in terms of fixing our economy. Lots of reforms need to be brought into this fact. Where are we right now?
Yes, Mahieash, so I'm going to look at two things here on the data board, and then we will go into a package of how we got here very quickly. Now, here what I wanted to really highlight was the two aspects that I'm looking at is one, the inflation, and secondly, the contraction of the economy. That we are going to look at from the angle of the GDP. Now, all the data that I will be presenting to you today will be from the Department of Census and Statistics. Now, here what I wanted to point out was a 65% headline inflation is what we are witnessing right now, which the Department of Census and Statistics looked at all provinces, all 9 provinces. The National Consumer Price Index is formed by looking at the prices of commodities in all of the 9 provinces. And they come up with the figure of 65 to 70% within the past 2 months. These are extremely high figures compared to what it was maybe a few months back. Now, in keeping that in mind, we need to look at the general drop that we see just in the previous month. One would say this is a positive outlook looking at going into 2023, but we should bear in mind still having a headline inflation of 65%. I think if you look at the commodity prices which the central bank releases on a daily basis is quite high. One final thing that I want to point out here, Mahieash, is the gradual drop we are witnessing within our GDP. Now, the GDP, just to give a breakdown, is the overall look of the product of services and the other products that have been produced in the country. If we are seeing a drop, we are seeing a drop because of the primary reason of this extreme taxation. And that taxation is contracting our economy, which is harmful. A lot of things that we can look at when looking at how we got here in 2022. As Sri Lanka looks to have a more positive year in 2023, the run-up hasn't been encouraging, particularly when considering the global indicators, which have had a skeptical outlook of the country from the very beginning. On the 1st of December 2022, Fitch Ratings made an announcement that has gone almost unnoticed by many economic pundits, which is the downgrade of Sri Lanka's long-term local currency issuer default rating to CC. This states that a local currency debt default is probable. A local currency debt default would be fatal to Sri Lanka's growth, specifically during a time of recovery. This, coupled with the high pressure through recommendations of the IMF put on the SME sector within our country, provides two of the key challenges we will have to face in the year 2023. Another key issue that has come about in the last few weeks of the year 2022 is the conversation on coal imports and a potential power crisis being regenerated. The state-run Ceylon Electricity Board expects to get 38 coal ships containing 60,000 metric tons of coal by April 15, 2023, 5 of which has already arrived, filling the quota required till the 31st of December 2022. In addition to this, Sri Lanka can look more positively towards other commodity prices in 2023. According to the latest commodity market outlook data by the World Bank, it is suggested that there would be 11% decline in energy prices in the year 2023. The budget, which has been a key talking point within the discussions with the IMF, has given its primary attention to hiking taxes and the reformation of SOEs. This is to meet the purpose of receiving $2.9 billion in funding from the IMF. The key criteria which has been proposed by the IMF for this regard is reaching a consensus on debt restructuring with Sri Lanka's lenders and showing a 2.3% primary balance of GDP by the financial year 2025. The budget aims at increasing government revenue in the short term to 15% of the GDP and securing $8 billion in FDIs by 2023. To reach these targets, massive tax hikes are witnessed on small and medium enterprises, whose gains or profits will be taxed at 30% as opposed to the 14% rate currently present. In this backdrop, Sri Lanka has made important strides in how it approaches the export and tourism industry. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Tea Board, Niraj Dimel, has claimed that Sri Lanka is targeting export revenues of $1.5 billion from tea in 2023 and $1.2 billion in 2022. The Export Development Board has highlighted that the early months of 2023 will be tough given the global issues such as the Ukraine-Russia conflict. The Ministry of Investment Promotion declared in December of last year that Sri Lanka will be expecting $19 billion in revenue for the year 2023. Tourist arrivals did not reach the expected targets in 2022 and ended at little over 700,000 arrivals. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority expects between 1.2 million to 1.7 million tourist arrivals in the year 2023. The highest number of tourist arrivals was recorded in 2018, which was 2.3 million. In understanding the situation of the most powerful economies in the world, last week a report by Goldman Sachs predicted that by 2035, China will overtake the US as the world's largest economy. Sri Lanka needs to be mindful, as Mahieash you point out very well within our podcast, mindful of the approach that we are giving, specifically in this time period where amongst a lot of factors, geopolitics is playing a key role, primarily because of the Russia-Ukraine issue and how the other countries are forming themselves around that, but we seem to be a little bit silent on it. I believe we can talk about this and you will present a lot about this within the State of the Nation program. Over to you, Mahieash.
Indeed, the geopolitics aspect is something we really need to think about because a lot of people seem to think that there were no external factors coming into our country, especially during the past year, that I think, like you just mentioned, we need to do a special program on that alone. The Data Board. Thank you very much. Let's take a short commercial break. This is State of the Nation. Back in a moment.